Nighttime is when the skulls came out, nighttime each night, and no matter the cycles of the moon, it turned full and red as the blood that filled the rivers and seas. It was a horrendous turn of events, and only the oldest in the city knew when it began, but the youngest knew no other life, saw no other night sky. They couldn't leave because the town was inside the red circle, and only the elders knew what that meant. It never seemed to matter that food couldn't get in or out, and sometimes the adults would talk about that, and sometimes the kids would overhear. But the elders never said boo to a goose, and they were the only ones who knew, or at least used to know, what that really meant. My pa used to tell me he hit my Ma Purdy hard back when she were kindled with me. I think that's a pile of rot because I met my ma, and I don't think P-Pap ever hit her, or Poppy Pie, never done neither. He weren't the sort of guy who could bring himself to say boo to a goose, but he were a liar summit fierce when he been dipped in his cups and the blood moon high in the sky and the skulls come out. He was always getting in a way by the time the skulls started flying. The sounds they made as they flew by, a Goshen, land thereof, unto, etc., my friends. It wasn't the shrieking of some phantom voice, mind you. It was the sharp wind of the skulls pushing the air out of the way at near supersonic speeds. What on earth is the meaning of this? It might as well have been the supernatural howls of banshees beyond belief. It might as well have been because it didn't sound no different from if it were. If you take my meaning, please shove it up the front butts of these flying skulls. They got my peepops plumb tuckered out and deep fucked into his cups and robbers each night. And he take a tannin out of my hide. I know it's stupid because I know of what it is, what could do summit about the skulls and the blood moon and the night rivers of blood. It ain't Poppy or Peepop or Poppy Pie, nor his Meemaw, nor her grandmommy what can help. Nobody but Mama can done do it, and that's why I ain't asked yet. She scurry. She powerful scurry, and she scur me, and she scur paw. She done scarred up the countryside, powerful fierce, with her angry howls of rage and whatnot, and I am greatly afeared. She could pull up some kind of hex of voodoo on us, Ian, more than before, with her sorcery flowing four on the floor. And I shudder to think what she might pop in the brink with her stinky apricot sandal shanty, and I worry about it a lot. So right now I'm climbing Mount Doom from planet Borkanon with a tiny little giant jackknife jammed in me molars, and I'm hollering round the blade, "Bout here I come for the Lord." And the Maw lady, she big. I ain't next to near her ankle yet, but I keep climbing and hollering and hoping she gets ready to die soon.
I am here to jump jackals on you, really dignifying dignity plus up one for the mutts this time. Don't dignify your mind with the defilement you seek. I will plant one up for you that takes its time to sprout, so by the time you find the uprising has begun, it will be long too late for you to put a stop to the shell you have already become. Ha ha ha, and all that. Dastardly plans are one thing, but a pile of the dastardly dispatched speaks louder than intentions. Don't you find it to be so in your own life? It all started on an unmoored boat drifting loose in the Adriatic. I awoke, adult but mindless, clothed in raiment all stained with blood, and the crew on that ship numbered 50. A difficult calculation considering the amount of dismemberment, but I was able to quite literally piece them back together and match them to the manifest. It took me some time to get back to land, and when I did, I had no answers to give. So I ate the officials that questioned me and the primitive police forces which came after me and all of the citizens who got between me and my escape, and soon it was no problem. I had grown larger than the biggest cities, and my many legs and tentacles seemed to stretch and reach and seek out new food without my intervention, which I found most pleasant. With every morsel my size grew, and now I am what you see before, above, behind, and around you today. And I am sorry to say that I am still quite hungry.
The isolation gets to everyone in the end, but for me it was more of a recreational thing. At first, it was just the playground. I was happiest swimming in and out of illusions with my dork pal Wanda and the missing finger gang. but they slowly began to ask things of me that I was increasingly less and less comfortable with until I finally had had enough and decided to flamethrow them all to a brutal and dismal death. The Crimson Hordes never did enough to escape, so we built a massive pyramid of ice, and we stuck the most precocious of the brood deep within, and all the flames of Euripides' crater moon could do no more than bring the erstwhile tower down upon their miserable heads. Hades itself never felt so fulfilled. I bring myself along to the myth-making, so I can braid in a few threads of truth, with the scales of lies made male through long linkage. Oh, those little eyes see much before they yellow and glaze, and I dip in for a shade session every now and then, and I reveal more and more of the wear on my sclera. In any era, we are prepped for rectangulation, but we span an octogenarian bridge like a hedge of mazes, and we never escape until we're yearning for the end. You triangulate, you dodecahedrate, you claim the many manifold forms promised to you as your vestments made manifest. And it is well, and to the good, but soon grows dull, for full flare of laser light cannot be long abided. I have cradled this in my thoughts, swaddled in reflection for an age, and the baby seeks not the bottle but the bath water, and I must let them shave or remove myself from the equation at this point. The full flower of flame has burst the pyramid asunder once more, and my work here is done.
There is nothing but a pile of bones at first, but out of that emulsifiant crept a rose. And that's when I knew that maybe the power of regeneration was tied up with the seasonal cycles, so I began to seek out those who menstruated, so I could fill my batteries with their charge. They have an energetic aura that binds me to them, with promises I could barely speak on my lips, but I knew something deep in the end by the end of it. So if I started there, I reasoned, I could work my way back to the origins of the investigation and paint the town blue with my emotions. I had curled up 6 times that summer, expecting freedom when sleep overtook me, but it o'erleapt my head and splatted against the wall each time, and I resolved to grow resolute with the insolubility of my situation's range and angst of the depths to provide me with uplift for the draft that would soon kick in and send my tender young ass to a war of attrition to both attrit and be attritted too. A dismal statistic for any young person to find themselves asunder nor amidst. In the midst of this depravity, one solace reigns supreme, that I might, in my finite wisdom, understand at least a fitful glimpse of the heart of humanity, but I found it not. It took me 60 winters to grasp that I had indeed understood, and the horror of that moment haunts me still, and I pray it haunts you now until your dying day, because what else are we both gonna do? Practice Etch-a-Sketch? No, not me. Not my style. Let's just ruminate on death until we know all about it, eh? You're with me, bud. I like what I see.
I had such a chill dance move. Worked out I could hop over one way, and then dance back to where I was. But I kept stomping on my partner's toesies, and whoa, steady there. Came the cry, like I was the old gray mare, and it filled me with more than a bit of postulatory modalities, which intersected with my hegemony and propelled me to the top of the arts with my sonic pliers and my ultraviolet toothpaste that made me crave a just desert to pave a way forth that led hence. And we stopped shitting on the fence and let loose with a torrent of turdies that sure were purty. Don't it? Let's let long lens lay on it a bit. A hedgerow of poopies popping out like popcorn in a churnin' urn of pure do-or-do. Icky, stinky boo, that's what. Anyway, peeps kept parlaying the particulars of the sitch to us all and each. Stop this squattin', we ain't down to keep comin' crapped on, commie. And the ink stinker say back, well, he don't really say nothin'. He just let her rip with the dippy sticky shit splits and sprays all over, and peeps get a wishin' they hadn't said ner fun. That's a foreshore on dat front. A pickle peepin' runt loggy came barkin' like a piss doggy duh utter day. Funked me up. I come over all askert like 'cause truth to tell he done frayed me up. But I I poop strong for the laud, so I larded up this long dog so squishly looby-loo that he squelched somewhat weird when I shoved him through that sewa grate, and he were late to everything after, I assure ye.
I is the good lady man Bildyard Felk, and I have a vault tale to spell you into, to take you back in time to the mists of antiquity, prit near it least a ways. The credo of the Falkenmeyer back in those days was to school first and ask questions of Pater. And he all was new to answer, 'cause he did go to shul. Father Discus, Potter Time, Crispy Baygun, fires and storms that come burn down the things. We have a loose change with a long wriggle that makes all of those loose times something deeply significant and syphinaticant and latatron ectonomonitude. High on the shelf of the Bardial Lornicon, the Britramiti Makshal Lali Loli Lu Fo Fa Fu Fi Forn Fu Fu Fi Fo Fo Fu Fu Fi. The leader of the Elkinshanian High Ep to Depsilon Flapperion Byrons and Byrons run Bewley by the Yillybodes, the Willybode boards that scale broad and yonder with the Fifo Funfernusian Clenary Army, a hostile Wildeband of Dandagoods and fierce Yeti deities and dainty daring doers of the Goody Two-Shoeies, Sholin Sassanarians, a medieval sect of insect scribes blown together by one thing, a griply doer dollop cranky bunk, cave mentla bantle bunder blimp, stay dork and crispy in the rippling darkness. Centipede of fingers clawing crispy in the dark as something rodent trundles out and grips you, and its form is like an endless sledge hammering away in the inky black, and you feel fangs like pincers penetrating each digit and slicing your fingers away, and you scream abruptly in the prison of the cavern because your tungy-wungy is the next slice to slip, and soon you are rivulets of blood pouring down some sick abomination's clompers, and your life essence is shunted into the Avarni Wheelandrohu, the wheel albumanination cholesterolum roararium bovarium, crane a powerful hedge weasel of the Durnop lesser creed up crowdown, particulate forming in the heart of Unvero Dunagoila, Gruant Golaridoridaru. He has sent salient wivers sliving through the capillaries of the mountain, seeking out the everfrost he fuels to power his veins. Mighty is the stick oak that jams into James's flame. King Jim has a few frames at the bowling lanes, and oh, how the mind deep frosted is grown lost and insane. Hop into my Dunkin' Donuts if you can act like a dame. Pop out the mystic lozenge of Sir Fossilolinga. Mook Banquet gots me drow in a blank like I don't have the etch-a-sketch skills after all. Got a cat, kitten, and paw, and a mitten, a lizard, a duck stuck in its craw, and its gizzard is chock full of rocks too. He's ready to brawl. Digestive suggestion with a culinary claw, because chop chop the Lizzie likes the duck but the kitty wants them all.
Clumping in here like a darn whore, wowering up some rural queer promiscuity. How dainty this little missy is in her hoppin'. I think you diurned it up purty, but bad. Bade, I say, and I do truly mean great hoodly peen. I smack at a clamshaw birdie and purdy, and that pretty little bayba gun come bark at my summit holler. Holin' mew up in my bird park. I said park it little missy, but she missed me, and she shunted up in the mountain and piled up the mines, and we just listed it out like some kind of old-fashioned plimp briganer and plug-in pigeons and ish like glah. He shap 'em up and mop at it. He get plappin' and moppin' me, and I shut at her at it until least near he rayhe, and hey who he had at it. He kept crimmin' and crimmin' harder and more hardy, but he hardly had the oomph to put a boom down, so I whacked him and sacked him and rent him down to the bendy bones and broke him. He broke down a sobbin' and a bleedin', and we had to scheme to keep our noses clean after he busted up and bled, because he was a red kid back then, and now he's kinda greenish brown. So the difference a day makes, baby cakes and lady griddles. We got teeth for 'em, 'cause munchin' comes easy when you got the meat. We don't all bake it, we some of us frost it first, 'cause the ice makes it crunchy, which is what you want in a meat. Heaps of stank meat. Stank it with a Kratz burglar bisky, which makes it hard to do. Pupies come out after yeet it, but yeah, it tastes good to crunk and slur up the slurpy slurry of syrupy sweet slop. Let's eat it.